I'd say number one bad practice for web design, even before we start talking about interactivity, is just clutter. You know, if there's one thing I know, you're talking about Steve Jobs. You know, what Steve Jobs really did with Apple was, you know, he was a minimalist, and really where we are today with design is minimalism equals sophistication. You know, less is more. More white space is better. That's number one. Number two is stock images. You know, try and stay away from stock images if you can. Again, if you really are trying to promote your company as being real and approachable and genuine, and you really want someone to really know who you are as a company, if you just have the typical two business people shaking hands with the suit and tie that we see everywhere, you know, it's just, I'm going to lose interest very quickly. You know, I want to see who you are as a company, and that stock image isn't really going to do much for me. So that's number two. Number three is what I call SEO stuffing. So while SEO, search engine optimization, while that's extremely important, right? You want to be found, of course. You've got to also make sure that you're not just overstuffing keywords to be found into your copy on your website. Okay, because oftentimes you have an SEO expert who's talking to you and advising you. That's great, but realize if the content isn't readable and engaging, you can have as many people come to that site as you want. If you're going to turn them off sounding like a robot with specific keywords having to be put in specific places, you're going to lose that interest. So that's number three. Four is busy design, actually. So again, as I talked about before a bit with Steve Jobs, less is more, but both on the text side and clutter side, but also just on the visual sides. Number five, and Amy talked to this a bit, is burying information. You know, we've got to make sure on your website that, you know, if I want to get to something, I don't want to have to click 3 times to get to it. So whatever you feel is the most important information you need to impart on your audience, make sure it's very easy to find on the home page. Okay, that's number five. 6 is the hard sell, as I call it. As I said in the prior session, I don't want to be sold. Okay, so if I see that all it is buy now, act now, you know, 25% off today if you buy from me today, it's a turnoff. Not just for me, it's a turnoff. I mean, it's a marketing trend that's going on right now. People just don't want to see that. So again, you've got to make sure you're balancing a strong call to action, which of course is important, you know, but with making sure that, you know, you're not hitting someone over the head with those flashing neon lights that can take place, and I'm sure everyone's seen on websites. And that brings us to Flash. Okay, so again, if we're talking Flash, a lot of, you know, in the past years, websites have been designed to be very interactive using Flash. But again, Flash is not going to show up on someone's iPhone. It's not going to show up on an iPad. And with mobile devices today gaining more and more prominence, you know, my recommendation would be, if someone's recommending Flash to you, there's other ways to be interactive with your site without having to use Flash. Okay, that brings us to the next point, which is slow lead times, or load times, excuse me. So again, oftentimes there's some really great Flash that happens, oftentimes on real estate sites, to be frank, but oftentimes, you know, it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds before finally that website loads. And again, my time is valuable. I think yours is too. For me to have to be already frustrated before I come onto the site, having to wait 10 seconds to finally see something load, that to me makes you feel very dated, not to mention a bit frustrated on my part as well. And then lastly, we'll just say, you know, any type of music on a site, you know, I would just stay away from music if you can. Right, so if all of a sudden I'm online and all of a sudden I click on your website and there's music playing, automatically playing, that's you know, that's a no-no. So if you want to have music, that's fine. You can give me the option to actually click on it so I can hear the music or hear something. But it's very important, you know, in my opinion, that you want to try and stay away from music. So I'm just talking like this is all big picture, low-hanging fruit, quick things you can just check off your list. And then lastly, I'll just say, you've got to make sure when you can, and Amy talked to this a bit, is you've got to make sure you try and stay away from just a static brochure website. Okay, so as if you heard me in the last panel talking about engagement, you know, there's nothing less engaging than just reading copy. You know, so pictures are better than text and videos are better than pictures. So when you can, and again, I know that this all costs money, but you can put together, you know, a great video on your website about you in a very human way, or about your company for, you know, $1,000, even less if you wanted to do it, you know, just on your own through linking to YouTube or Vimeo. So again, whenever possible, make sure that you're trying to, you know, stay away from all those easy bad mistakes that I just mentioned very quickly. I have slides if you want them later after this conference, but that's all easy stuff. The tough part is making sure that you can really start engaging. And that's just touching the surface with the video that I mentioned. But hopefully that answers your question here.